What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. It's well known that randomness, aka RNG, plays a pretty big role in Hearthstone, and no matter how you feel about the RNG in the game, there's no denying that it can often lead to some crazy and memorable moments. As we count down the top 20 most powerful and craziest RNG cards, we'll be measuring these cards by how powerful they are when you get absolutely perfect RNG. And I will give a disclaimer here that my ordering for this list probably isn't that great, so it's more about the fun of looking at the cards. Anyways, let's get started. And at 21 we have Animal Companion. Okay, so I made the list 21 cards instead of 20, but I couldn't really figure out what to take out. So, when it comes to Animal Companion, all three options have a lot of really inherent raw power. However, all three animals do very different things, and so depending on your RNG, it can swing the game a ton. And with perfect RNG, you can really snowball away with the game, since the creature that it can spawn is just so powerful. Next at 20 we have Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler is a great card, and a perfect juggle can really seal away the board and snowball a game really hard, and it's why we see it as one of the premier aggro cards. Killing your opponent's creature with juggles gives you a huge lead and sets up a super strong aggressive play to get you a nice lead to set up a win. For number 19 we have Implosion. Rolling a 4 on Implosion gives an insane amount of value. Summoning 4/4 worth of stats and dealing 4 damage to a creature is really strong, not to mention combos with things like Knife Juggler and Mal'Ganis. When you roll high on Implosion, the value is huge and will give you quite a big lead in your game, since it removes a creature and sets up a decent board. At number 18, it's Avenging Wrath. This card is a little bit low on the list since it costs quite a bit of mana to play, but 8 damage distributed to any target you want can really go a long way for removing your opponent's creatures, giving you lethal, or just having a huge impact on the board overall. Definitely enough to swing the game in your favor. At number 17 we have Mechano. If you can set up a few creatures on the board, a perfect RNG roll from Enhanso can completely clear the board for free with some Divine Shields, set up lethal with some Wind Furies, or lock out your opponent with some taunts. If you can get it off, a perfect roll can turn a game you are barely winning into a complete knockout with the value and board presence the card can bring. At number 16 we have Resurrect. Similar to Enhanso, the card suffers a little bit because it requires some setup, but if you can pull it off a lucky Resurrect in the late game, you can pull 6, 7, 8, even 9 mana creatures, causing an insane tempo swing and granting access to some really powerful cards that your opponents might not have outs to, since they use their removal the first time you played the creature. And so if you get lucky with it, it can lead to some really strong options. Next up, at number 15, we have Mind Control Tech. Although it can be really hard to set up, if you get the perfect RNG, this card becomes Mind Control and a 3/3 creature for only 3 mana, which is actually just crazy. You get to kill a high power creature your opponent has, while also summoning one of your own, and you get the extra 3/3 on top. Although it can be difficult to set up, if you do and you get the perfect RNG, this card is crazy ridiculous and super powerful. At number 14 we have Dr. Boom. 8 damage boom bots can go a really long way, and the 8 damage from such a powerful 7 drop is really impactful, and whether you perfectly clear the opponent's creatures or do 8 damage to face to set up a push for lethal, I'm sure we've all had a game decided by some crazy boom bot outcome. The fact that the card doesn't require any setup or any outside things to make it work allows it to be a super strong effect when the RNG goes in your favor. At number 13, it's Ragnaros the Firelord. It sucks that Ragnaros dies so easily to Big Game Hunter, but with the perfect RNG, Ragnaros will always have a high impact on the board on just its first turn, and if your opponent doesn't have a BGH, it can seal out the game completely by killing all of their creatures for free and making them have to use 2 or 3 spells even to kill the Ragnaros that also took down multiple creatures. With perfect RNG, Ragnaros can really seal out the late game, as long as it hits what you want it to, of course. At number 12, we have the Mage Missile cards of Arcane Missiles, Flamewaker, and Goblin Blast Mage. I grouped them together since they have fairly similar effects, and I wanted to include them all on the list. Similar to Avenging Wrath and Boombots, some well-placed missiles can really go a long way to kill an opponent's creature and set up a board for you, thus sealing out the early board control game, or maybe do a bunch of powerful face damage. A perfect missiles combo can have a huge impact on the board and really just give a mage a huge lead in the game. At number 11, it's the Bombers. Mad Bomber, Matter Bomber, and Bomb Lobber. Once again, I grouped them together since they have similar effects and I wanted to include them all on the list. Similar to the Missile cards, the Bombers are a little bit stronger since they do the same thing but set up a stronger board with better stats. However, the RNG in a normal game is a lot less likely since the Bombers can hit your own cards, but if you get the perfect bombs, you clear your opponent's board and play a reasonably sized creature too, which is actually really powerful for quite a low mana cost. At number 10, it's Webspinner. Although the card can sometimes give weird results, getting something like a high main King Crush or even some kind of removal like an Ironbeak Owl can really go a long way from just a 1-drop creature. Although the card goes into your hand, that kind of extra power is huge for the Hunter class and can often seal out a game or give a perfect out to the opponent's response to give you a huge lead. Next at number 9, it's Recombobulator. Having access to a bunch of really random creatures from the game can lead to a lot of really crazy plays. Trading in with a creature and then recombobulating it to something like a charge or a taunt or something crazy and unexpected can be super amazing when you have the absolute best outcome, and so it's a really powerful RNG card. At number 8, we have the Shredders. Piloted Shredder, Piloted Sky Golem, and Sneasel Shredder. Just like the other groups, I grouped them together since they all have similar effects and I wanted to include them all on the list. But with the perfect RNG, you can get some really crazy things like a Kel'Thuzad that summons your own Sneeds back, Millhouse Mana Storm, Pit Lord, or even something like a charge, a taunt, or even a heal with Vitality Totem, or sometimes something like a crazy Doomsayer can be super strong in the right situation and lead to some really unexpected swings or some insanely powerful raw value in a card. Next at number 7, we have Mind Games. Although it costs a little bit more than Resurrect, with perfect RNG, using 4 mana to summon things like Grom Hellscream or Ragnaros is an insanely powerful tempo swing and can give you some crazy options to blow the game away from your opponent. Playing an 8+ mana creature on turn 4 is super ridiculous and pulls out an awesome win condition out of nowhere to close out the game quite a lot of the time. Next up at number 6, it's Blingtron. Getting something good like a Gorehowl or a Gladiator's Longbow or even a Doomhammer while your opponent gets a Light's Justice is actually crazy ridiculous and will often win you the game outright since you get to play a 3/4 creature, kill your opponent's creature, and then still have more removal for the next turn while your opponent gets pretty much nothing. At number 5, we have Tinkmaster Overspark. The silence and removal of a creature is crazy powerful, the hard removal effect. And at the time when you could target with Tinkmaster, he was one of the most powerful cards to ever exist in Hearthstone. And so being able to hard remove a creature by turning it into a 1/1, essentially silencing it and then killing it, all while playing a 3/3 creature for only 3 mana is actually crazy and gives you an awesome out to a boatload of situations. Now at number 4 we have Brawl. With perfect RNG, this card essentially becomes a 5 mana kill all opponents cards on the board. And it's super strong since it's a great comeback card and can win you games that sometimes no other card could. You can clear your opponent's entire board and still have a creature left, and although it might not be great in games you are already winning, having such a huge comeback swing card go in your favor can win you games like nothing you would ever expect. And at number 3 we have Bane of Doom. Dealing 2 damage and summoning something like a Mal'Ganis for 5 mana only is totally insane, as well as some of the other options like Doomguard for a charger to clear some more of your opponent's board, or a taunt that can really save the game. It can make you come back from a big deficit or totally close out the game if it's even or maybe if you're winning. As long as you have something to kill, which you almost always will, the luck of getting a crazy strong creature from Bane of Doom on only 5 mana is not only an absolutely crazy tempo swing, but it can really give you some unexpected outs to bring a game home. And at number 2, we have something that I almost forgot to put on this list, and it's actually Holy Wrath. Drawing a Molten Giant with Holy Wrath to give you 20 damage is really insane, and for just 5 mana, the crazy amount of damage you can get is totally ridiculous and will pretty much always give your opponent no chance in the game. I mean, 5 mana for 20 damage, that's just crazy. And lastly, at number 1, we have Unstable Portal. It's probably not too much of a surprise to you, but having access to any creature in the entire game can really just give you the perfect answer almost every time, or give you some crazy powerful cards. You could really just get any perfect response, things like a heal, taunt, a burst damage, charger for lethal, even board clears with things like Tinkmaster or Deathwing. See, that's kind of the thing to consider, is that any creature previously mentioned on this list can be gotten with Unstable Portal, and so it's the versatility combined with the raw power of this card when you get the perfect RNG that makes it take my number 1 spot as the most powerful RNG card in Hearthstone. Hey guys, it's me, Jeremy. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit that like button so I can tell, as well as you can check me out on Facebook and Twitter at Gaming Curios. And check me out on Twitch too, I do weekly streams. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, as well as you can check out some of my other content up above. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.